Hi, and welcome to the Fate of the Norns Playmat tutorial. We're going to go through all the piles on the playmat right now, and basically I'll explain what each one of those piles does, how it works. So in case you have a hard time reading, we've got contingency, in play, in hand, essence, stun, wounds, death, and drain. So essence is pretty much where your rune bag lives. So you've got a couple of runes in your rune bag, this is where it would sit. So every time you're actually asked to do a skill check or start a new round of combat, you would randomly go into your bag, pick out some runes, and put them in the in-hand pile. You would then, let's say if it was combat, consult your dweller sheet, take a look at what's going on in the combat battlefield, and take a look at the runes that you've drawn and determine, what's the best course of action. So you might, decide to utilize this rune for one special active power, and then utilize this one to either bolster that power, or maybe use it to move in the battlefield. So this is how these two piles work. Now the contingency pile, let's say it's your turn, but you want to defer an action to later in the initiative. So you've gone early in the combat. Let's say this rune is a healing rune, and no one is actually damaged from your team. So what you might want to do during your turn is say, I'm going to place this effect on the contingency pile, and let's say, let's say this rune amplifies. We use this as a meta tag to amplify the heal, and we'll say, this effect we will defer under condition X. And you could specify condition X to be something like, if at any time during this combat round someone is damaged and is within my healing range, I would like this to trigger. So then you would have this rune chain trigger at that point. If the combat round ends and that condition wasn't met, well, just like any of the other runes in these upper piles, these runes would return back into your essence bag. Now, we continue. The void rune, the void pile, is for the void rune, Gningagat, which is the Viking word for nothingness, for the void. So this is where the new rune is going to sit for the new edition of Fate of the Norns Ragnarok. And this rune is the one that's bound to your archetype. So all of the special powers that your archetype brings to the table would be bound on this rune. And this is where it would sit instead of in the bag. During each one of your turns then, it would move into in-hand and then be utilized and then returned back into the void when it's done being used. We'll do another video more in depth on how the void rune works. So then we've got the stun, wounds, death, and drain piles. Now this is where they come into play when combat damages you. So what would happen if you took, let's say, 4 points of damage, regular damage, is you would reach into your bag, you would randomly pull a rune out. So let's say you did have some runes already in play, it was your turn. You'd done, let's say, that move on the contingency side, and so you take 4 damage. So you would have to reach into this bag, pull out a rune at random, and start counting down the damage. You would say, I've taken 1 point of damage, 2 points of damage, 3 points of damage. So now this is your regular track of damage. It goes from stunned, wounds, to death. Once you've hit the end, you would reach into your bag, pull out another rune, and continue counting off the damage. So we've done 3 damage, this would be the 4th damage. So this is how damage would be resolved. Now you're probably asking yourself, what's with the drain pile? How come the damage didn't go all the way down there? Well, that's reserved for special types of damage. Runes that are in these damage piles can be affected by healing. The runes that hit the drain, so going one more step after death into drain, cannot be touched by healing. Those runes are only recoverable through time, game time that passes. And the way these piles work is stun is your forgiving damage pile. So at the start of every one of your upkeeps, that's a phase in combat, and we'll do another video on combat, one rune would return from stun back into essence. Wounds works in the converse way, so you would have runes from wounds drop into death during your upkeep. And death is pretty much your final holding position for your runes. I think that covers pretty much everything that you would need to know on a really high-level flyby of the playmat. If you have any questions, please post at the bottom of this video, and we'll try to get to them. Otherwise, you can go to fateofnorns.com for some more information, or our Facebook fan page as well, facebook.com/fateofthenorns. Thanks.